Is medical coding training really worth it in 2025? And I'm talking about like your ROI, the return on investment, the spending of all of your time and your money and your energy on learning this skill and hoping that you're going to start a career in healthcare. So, whether you are looking for flexibility, better pay, or a job with some real growth potential, let's break it all down. When we talk about ROI, I am a very big work life balance girly. So, we're not just talking about money. We're also going to talk about the time it takes. We're going to talk about career stability. We're going to talk about flexibility and long term growth. So, really ask yourself, what are you investing? Is it going to be your money? Because you probably have to pay for it out of pocket unless you've got an employer or someone reimbursing it, your time, and your energy. And then what are you hoping to gain from this? Is it just the income? Are you looking for something that's more flexible? Are you looking for a career path that has lots of growth opportunities? And then how quickly are you looking to get from where you are now to where you want to be? So let's look at some of the numbers, the career landscape, and the reality of this industry in 2025. First, let's talk about some of the programs. A lot of the programs that you're going to see out there are going to be from $4,000 to $7,000, and those are usually certificate of completion programs, something that you might get from a technical school or from an online training program like the AAPC. Usually, if it is a 2-year associate's degree program, which you might be interested in if you want to spend that much time, I will totally not discourage you from doing that. But oftentimes, the associate's degrees are a 5-figure number, and most employers aren't necessarily looking for an associate's degree. They want certifications. So we'll talk more about that in other videos, and I'll touch on it in this video as well. There are lower cost options out there. I do have whole videos about how to self-study medical coding, and there are programs out there that, again, you might have an employer reimbursement from. You might get something because you or a member of your family is part of the military, or you have some sort of state grant, but there are also online self-paced programs like Preppy that are a fraction of that cost. I'll talk more about Preppy in a little bit. And a lot of them you can complete in 6 months, maybe 9 months, some of them, but that's kind of that sweet spot. Most people finish in around 6 to 9 months from starting with no experience, like you have to learn MedTerm, and then you have to learn the different code sets and some stuff about compliance, and then prepare for one of these certifications that employers are really looking for. But there may be additional financial costs that you also need to budget for. So a lot of programs will include certifications that are kind of general medical billing and coding ones, but not necessarily the ones that employers will want for certain positions. Like if you just want to get into a billing job, just right training is usually good for that. But if you want to get into a specific medical coding job, like your title is medical coding specialist, employers are going to look for certifications through either AAPC or a HEMA. So most of them don't include that exam fee. If they're like licensed through the AAPC, they might if they give you a nice package bundle. But again, that's going to increase your fees. So if you're looking to get that CPC certification, for example, the Certified Professional Coder, check to see if your program is going to include your AAPC membership and your exam fee, or if you're going to have to pay that separately. You'll also need code books to study with. So either buying books or getting ebooks. So see if that's included as well, because that can influence some of those costs. So the key, if you really want to get into medical coding, is to find a program that has all the materials, or that you know that these are the little things I might have to buy extra, and that it prepares you for the CPC exam. And it's really, really beneficial if it includes some sort of experience. So an internship or an externship. And again, that isn't going to bury you in debt, because there are certainly programs out there that are very, very expensive, but a lot of them, the expense doesn't necessarily mean that it's better. And let's talk about the payoff, like what you get in return. So entry-level coders are usually around $45,000 to $55,000 a year. It could be more if you're in an area that has a higher cost of living. But with a few years of experience, a lot of coders that get into a certain specialty can make $60,000 more a year. There are coders that are in auditing that are easily making over $80,000 a year. I know coders that just have a handful of years of experience, and because they're more willing maybe to work in person with providers, or they're working with certain specialties, that they are earning 6 figures. But the perk of medical coding that a lot of people like is that there are a exorbitant amount of roles that offer remote work or some hybrid flexibility. In fact, the majority of medical coders do work remotely, or they work remotely for the majority of their week. And that's huge if you're like a parent or a caregiver, or you're just tired of commuting or the 9 to 5 grind. But those higher pays do usually come with at least a couple of years of experience. If you're looking for something where you don't need a ton of training, but you're going to earn high as soon as you're done and almost be guaranteed a job, look into more something that is more on the clinical end, like a rad tech. But those jobs that pay high right out of the gate are not going to have that remote flexibility because you have to be on site to do radiology. So the ROI is there compared to other fields that have a similar time to complete that training. And I always hear people say like, oh, hey, I can go work at Aldi or I can go work at the warehouse by me, and that's going to pay more than I would make starting out in a medical coding role. And yeah, I'm not going to deny that. But here's what I've seen. There's a lot of people near me that work at the big old Amazon warehouse, and people get these jobs and they're super excited and it's great. And they're like, oh, wow, I just started here. It's doing okay. Maybe after a couple months, they get $1 an hour raise or something, but then they wind up with an injury, or, their boss sucks, or everyone around them is working except for them. And then the list goes on, and then they wind up, leaving that job, or they get fired. And then they're right back at the starting point again, looking for that next cashier job or their next warehouse jobs, and they're starting back at the bottom of the salary. But with medical coding, in a year, you can get a raise, you can get an extra certification, maybe get a second remote part-time job because you don't have that commute. You could find another place in a year or two, work up the ladder. So in 2 to 3 years, maybe you're making $28 to $30 an hour as an experienced coder. In 3 to 5 years, maybe you're an auditor, you're working in a really high-paying specialty and you're making $30 to $40 an hour. I have definitely seen that for sure. But you need to be very strategic, and you need to apply yourself. You can't just sit back and do the bare minimum, but expect to make the higher salary. Now, a big reason people that choose medical coding, aside from, of course, the remote working, is the time investment. A lot of people, they're like, I don't want to spend 2 years. I don't want to spend 4 years. A lot of programs out there like Preppy, you can be trained and certification ready in as little as 6 months, and you don't have to get a degree. You don't have to go through clinicals. You don't have to wait years and years to see a return. It's all on demand. It includes prerequisites like MedTerm, and you can do it at your own pace. And once you're certified, you have a career that can grow with you. I've seen people that they like certain specialties. They like auditing, they like education, they like compliance, they like leadership, or they get into healthcare and they're like, oh, I really like working with the EMR. I really like working with the Epic training or doing things with the medical record system. And they diverge into maybe the IT aspects of it versus just staying in medical coding, but they're still using those skills that they acquired in medical coding training in the other aspects of revenue cycle or finance or whatever in healthcare. Now, there's lots of great programs out there. You might already have one in mind. You might have a tech school or a business school near you that offers this type of training. You might just decide, I'm going to go directly from the AEPC because they're the ones that make the CPC exam. But I personally recommend Preppy because it is affordable. It is 100% online, and it is self-paced. You get 80 contact hours, which helps you remove what's called the apprenticeship status for the CPC, which helps you become a full-fledged medical coder and medical coder CPC certified person a little bit faster. You can finish it in less than a year, and you can start applying for jobs right away. And it includes externship opportunities, which majority of the time you're not going to find in programs. And also, if you pay in full, you get a laptop included with your program. So you're getting a really great program and really great support that is focused on the training that's going to get you results. But ultimately, you need to decide, is this the right fit for you? Medical coding's not some get-rich-quick scheme. It's not like some other training like Microsoft Office programs where you can just learn it in like a week. And it's really not something that is beneficial to kind of cheat your way through in a few weeks and expect to have a ton of success. But it is a smart, strategic move if you are ready to commit. So really ask yourself, am I willing to study consistently for a few months, maybe up to a year? Do I want a career I can grow into where I'm not just looking for necessarily a job? And am I willing to invest in training that is going to work and not just the cheapest option, or fall into that trap of student loan debt where you forget that your future self is going to have to pay off those $30,000 in student loan fees? So if you answered yes, this might be the right track for you. So is medical coding training worth it in 2025? Yes, it's not for everyone. Some people might find that it's just not something that they enjoy. But if you go into it with the right expectations and you pick a reputable program like Preppy and you have a plan for what comes after obtaining your coding credential, it can be a great career path. If you're ready to get started, you can also find out more information at my free career masterclass at medicalcodingmasterclass.com, and it'll walk you through the best way to start training with Preppy. And if this video helped you, don't forget to give it a like, share, and subscribe. I will see you guys in the next video. And until then, just keep on coding on.